Welcome to Myra Fairy Tales.
Long ago, in a world where magic moved as quietly as the wind and seasons listened to ancient rules, there lived a mischievous sprite who delighted in twisting truth itself. Some said he was born from shadows. Others whispered he was the echo of cruelty given form. Whatever his origin, he took pleasure in mocking all that was good. One day, this sprite crafted a mirror unlike any other. It was beautiful in its making, polished to perfection, yet cursed in its purpose. When one looked into it, kindness appeared foolish, beauty turned grotesque, and love seemed weak and laughable. Mountains reflected as heaps of soot, flowers as withered weeds, and smiling faces as masks of vanity. The sprite laughed, declaring that the world would finally see how ridiculous goodness truly was. Eager to spread their master's mischief, other sprites carried the mirror into the skies, hoping even to mock the angels. But the higher they flew, the more the mirror trembled, until it slipped from their grasp and shattered. It fell to the earth in countless fragments, some no larger than grains of sand, scattering across lands and seas. Wherever a shard entered an eye, the world became cold and ugly. Wherever a splinter pierced a heart, warmth froze into ice. And so, without thunder or warning, sorrow quietly seeped into the world. In a modest town far from palaces and legends, two children lived side by side. The boy was named Kay, clever and curious, and the girl was Gerda, gentle and steadfast. Their houses stood so close that their windows nearly touched, and between them their families had placed wooden boxes filled with soil, where roses bloomed each summer. Those roses formed a bridge of color between their homes, and it was there the children spent long afternoons reading, laughing, and watching bees drift lazily between petals. They loved each other deeply, not as siblings, but as hearts that had grown together naturally. One winter evening, snow fell softly, feathering the streets and rooftops in white. Kay and Gerda sat by the window, watching snowflakes dance in the air. "Each one looks alive," she said softly. Kay smiled. "Maybe they belong to the Snow Queen. They say she rules the snow and rides the storm." At that very moment, fate shifted. A shard from the broken mirror rode the wind and struck Kay's eye. Another, crueler piece slid straight into his heart. Kay cried out, but only briefly. From that day on, everything changed. The roses no longer looked beautiful to him. He called them ordinary and dull. Gerda's kindness annoyed him. He mocked stories, laughed at warmth, and grew distant, sharp, and unfeeling. Winter arrived, and instead of wonder, Kay saw only cold. One evening, as Kay pulled his sled through the town square, a magnificent white sleigh glided silently beside him. Its driver wore robes of frost, her beauty sharp and distant, her eyes like frozen stars. She asked, "Would you like to ride?" Kay felt no fear. He tied his sled to hers. The sleigh surged forward, faster and faster, until the ground vanished and the sky swallowed them. The Snow Queen kissed Kay's forehead. Her kiss burned with cold, but his heart no longer felt pain. And then he was gone. Spring came, snow melted, flowers bloomed, but Kay did not return. The townspeople whispered that he must have fallen into the river. Gerda refused to believe it. Her grief was heavy, but beneath it burned determination. One morning, she put on her shoes, whispered a prayer, and set out alone to find him. Her journey carried her first along a river, then into meadows and forests. She arrived at a cottage wrapped in flowers of every color, where an old woman lived among endless summer. The woman welcomed Gerda kindly, offering comfort and safety. Days passed in warmth and beauty, and slowly Gerda began to forget why she came, until one day she saw a rose painted on her hat. Memory struck like lightning. She searched the garden and found a real rose hidden behind a hedge. She kissed it, and her heart remembered everything. The rose whispered that Kay was not dead and had been carried north. Gerda fled the garden and continued her journey. She traveled through forests, across fields, until she reached a grand palace where a talking crow lived. The crow believed a young prince inside might be Gerda's lost friend. Though it was not Kay, the prince and princess listened kindly to her story. They gave her warm clothes, food, and a golden carriage to help her continue. But gold attracts danger. In a dark forest, robbers attacked her carriage. Gerda was captured and brought to their camp. There, she met a fierce robber girl who listened to her tale. Though wild, the girl was not cruel. She freed Gerda in the night and gave her a reindeer to carry her north. The reindeer carried Gerda across frozen lands, beneath skies painted with dancing lights. They stopped at the huts of wise women of the north, who told Gerda the truth. She carried the greatest magic of all, love strong enough to melt ice. At last, Gerda reached the Snow Queen's palace. It was vast, cold, and silent, built of snowflakes shaped like glass. In its center sat Kay, pale and still, arranging pieces of ice into patterns. The Snow Queen had told him that if he could spell eternity, he would be free. But his frozen heart could not complete the word. Gerda ran to him, weeping. Her tears fell upon his chest, melting the shard in his heart. She kissed his eyes, and the splinter slipped free. Kay cried out, awakening at last. The palace cracked, ice shattered, light poured in. Hand in hand, they left the frozen halls. They returned home through spring and summer, arriving once more at the rose-filled windows of their childhood. They were older now, changed by sorrow and courage, yet their hearts remained pure. The world was still cold at times, still difficult, but love had proven itself stronger than ice. And so the Snow Queen's power faded, remembered only as a warning that cruelty may freeze hearts, but love, once awakened, can melt even the deepest winter.